Welcome everyone to Rivals Assemble. I am your host, Mark Turcotte. Thank you so much for tuning in here to the show. Well, joining me here for this Marvel Rivals podcast. First up, Mr. Matt Clark. Matt, what's up, dude?
Yo, 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 and there came a day like no other when four guys assembled. Dang it, I lost it there. Great to be here.
You tried, man. Hey, for the epic comic book feel to it all, I know you were definitely trying there, so I give it to you. Also joining us, Kens. Kens, what's up, dude?
Hey, I'm Kens. I have nothing prolific to say that's inspiring like that, but yeah, ready to get into it.
Awesome. And finally, our pro gamer on the podcast from the north, Neil. Neil, what's up, dude?
You're never going to let that down, eh? I better start winning some stuff, or I'll just be the pro gamer that never wins.
Oh, come on, man. You're going to win over the hearts of all the listeners here on the podcast.
Our own alpha flight leader.
Yes, that's right. But what's up, everybody? Obviously, thank you so much here for tuning into the show. This is episode 1 of Rivals Assemble, a Marvel Rivals podcast. So we're obviously 1 month away from the game launching. So we are putting this show out, and hopefully we're going to try to come to you every week and a half, 2 weeks. We'll see kind of as things get moving forward. But at least right now, we want to just get into the hype, get into everything here as we're moving forward to the launch of the game. So quick little housekeeping here before we get going. You can follow us over on Twitter at Rivals Assemble, or X, whatever the kids call it these days, Twitter, X, whatever it is, at Rivals Assemble. You can also follow us on TikTok at Rivals Assemble. And later on here in the show, we want to get you involved with the show with our What If segment. You can email us, rivalsassemblepod@gmail.com. And whatever feed you're listening to us through, make sure you go ahead and subscribe. We need you to subscribe to the show. Tell your friends, tell everybody about the show. And we'll be here to talk some Marvel Rivals with you as often. Just kind of get that Marvel Rivals feel in your ear hole. Because right now, as we're kind of building up, Matt's making faces.
I don't like that. I don't like that you just said ear hole. I don't.
Come on.
We are rivals now.
Yes, we are rivals. But a quick little introduction about us, because this is episode 1. You can go back actually and listen to episode 0, which was a gathering of us kind of right after the closed alpha it was. So this was back in May, and we kind of broke down our experiences with the game. And Neil, you actually hadn't played the game at that point.
That's right.
So
I didn't get in that time.
Yeah. So since then, we have played the beta, of course, and have had the announcements of a couple other heroes. And so that's where we're going to kind of get to the beginning of this episode, and then we'll move on to some of the news and all that. But overall, the general structure of the show will be news, and then we're going to talk about some of the competitive scene. That's some things we want to talk about. Get into some lore bits for each of the characters as the weeks go on, give you some recommendations on things you should be reading, maybe some shows to watch, movies to watch for the characters, and let us know who you want us to talk about. I will give you a little tease for later on in the episode. We're talking about Captain America here on episode 1. I mean, you kind of got to start, I think, with I don't want to say the leader of everything, but at least kind of where the MCU and everything is right now. I think Cap seems to be kind of the best start for us. But all right.
Or as Ken's called them, the vanilla hero.
Oh,
because you start somewhere and then you kind of add on to it, right?
Yeah, there you go. You gotta add the flavor in later.
I think Kens was saying that because he doesn't really like Captain America.
Yeah, right? I felt like that was a very generous read.
Very insult.
The impression I got was just like, he's boring. He's just strong. That's it.
I mean, fight me on it.
Listen, by the end of this podcast, this specific episode, my whole goal is to convince Kens that Cap is awesome, and I promise you, Kens, I think by the end of this,
Cap is awesome. I don't think he's not awesome, but it's like in my tier of what superheroes that I like, he's not really up there very high. But
which is actually that's actually a great.
It's like picking your favorite kid. You know, you can't really do that. But you know,
it's a great point to make because that is very much the journey of the character through the comics and through, I guess, like popular media and pop culture. And so it 100% makes sense that you feel that way, Kens.
Yeah. Because Kens, I was literally you, like probably 10 years ago, if not, even shorter than that. Like Cap was not on my list at all. And then The switch.
Then I
went
saw the
off.
light,
Woo.
and
he's awesome.
Yeah.
He's awesome.
We'll see. We'll see.
I have a question real quick, and maybe this is for Neil specifically. This might not be as crazy, different for you because, Canada is, right here next to the US. But what is the, I guess, perception of like such a US centric character to like people outside the country, in your opinion? Because that's always been like, I think this character is super cool, whatever patriotism aside, I just think he's a cool character. But does it have that same kind of feel to people outside the country?
That's a good question. I was it just feel I didn't connect the patriotism that much. I'm just like, okay, yeah, you got the Avengers, you got Captain, you got Iron Man, you got the other, and that's just who he is, right? It's not like, oh yeah, US, but as being a Canadian, we're pretty close in our cultures and all that stuff too, right? So like maybe a European might have a different opinion on that, but it's not something that blares out at me as like, okay, whoa, you love your country, because everybody loves their country, right? But it was, it's not like I liked him or hated him any more than the other ones, but he's cool. Interesting hero.
Well, shout out to Captain Canuck, not a Marvel property, but another good comic if you're ever interested.
That's a real thing.
Yeah, great art, great comics.
Okay. I don't need much more.
You wonder, we'll get into this. I guess this is more of a question for when we talk about Cap later on in the episode, but like, you almost wonder, I mean, because he was designed as that patriotism character, pre-World War II and kind of at that time, what if they just called him Super Soldier? Like, would he still be around today? Would it have that same feel if he was just Super Soldier?
It's not much more of a unique name than Captain America. So Super Soldier's fine.
It's
I mean,
literally
Batman
a captain in the
and
military.
Superman are still around, right? So why couldn't we just call him Super Soldier?
That's fair. Yeah,
you
Superman.
very much could say that Captain America is a less evergreen version of Superman. And there are
a DC character I also really don't like.
Superman.
Yeah.
Who are you?
He's more interesting, right? He's got
but
laser.
I'm with Ken. And look, this isn't a DC podcast or a podcast where we're going to rip on DC.
The first and last episode of Rivals Assembled.
There's a lot of great DC characters.
Right.
But, and Superman's great. But again, he's not up there for me.
Superman, to me, there's nothing like, I don't want to say special about him, but it's like he can just do everything. So it's like, it's like a little kid in their playroom, and they're just like, I'm going to create a superhero, and you know what? They can do everything, and it's like that's Superman. Like, where was the creativity
Justice
in
League
that?
Assembled? Okay.
All right. Okay. Anyways, so the first segment of the show usually would be our not so daily bugle, but because, like I said, because the closed beta has happened since we did our episode 0, I want to go through some of the heroes that we got to play in that, as well as some that have been announced since. So first up on the list, we have Venom. So Venom was added to the game as a Vanguard. What are your guys' thoughts on playing Venom? How did you feel compared to when we played him, or when, I guess, being added to the roster from when we went from the alpha to the beta? What do you think of Venom kind of being added to the game?
I was terrified.
What do you mean by that?
Venom has such mobility that the people who could use him well is kind of like the people who used Black Panther very well. If you had a good Venom who could use that mobility to their advantage, it was just the ultimate dive character. And I don't know, they just splash down and you're just like, run for your life. Maybe you're not me and you're like a competent player, but it'd just be like, oh no, get me behind a building. I need to get away from here. Yeah, that was my initial thought.
Well,
I love Venom. Venom is I played a lot of Venom whenever in the short amount of time.
Yeah, you did.
Play, but Because I think I fall into the tank role more than most is what I like the role that I like to do. So I've played a lot of Venom, and the being able to dive with Venom is cool, but the swing mechanic is a bit it's a bit clunky, and I think that's more of the map design than anything else. But yeah, I mean, you feel like Venom. You're diving into the ground and like swimming around and doing symbiote stuff and shooting spikes out everywhere, and it's he was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
and they did have that setting that you could change.
That's what I was going to say. The swing setting, I would like when you get back into the game, definitely go in there and kind of figure out what's going to work best
what
for you.
Was the
There's one where like it'll kind of auto swing for you, kind of, or you can make it. I think where you can literally target where you want to swing.
Yeah,
so it kind of just
makes
makes
it like I would just like there would be a wall or like it's just like a build. Like, it was hard to get. Like it just didn't seem to work super well with the way the maps were. But yeah, same thing with flying sometimes.
Yeah, I do want to just quick comment on just him being a Vanguard, being a tank. And just for listeners, we're all, if you listen to episode 0, you probably learned we're all big Overwatch players. So we really enjoy Overwatch. But going back to the 6v6 and having 2 tanks, Venom is just a great addition to that, where you can have that dive tank. But I think what makes him different, because like I enjoy playing Hulk in this game, but a lot of times I don't feel like I can really do enough damage as Hulk, and I just feel like I should be able to, but you're able to kind of dive in, and if you can escape out, like that's fun. But Venom, because his basic attack is almost like a range attack, like you don't need to really melee. Like where I originally thought Venom was gonna be more of a melee character, but he's not. He's actually like a ranged character. So I mean, it's almost like a mid-range, I guess is the right way to say it. So when you would have some heroes like up in the air, you could actually just point to them as Venom and you're just hitting them. So you could dive in, hit that, and you're just kind of knocking them out of the air by doing that. And like that was very different for a tank, I think, in this game. And that's why like he's top tier, I think, for me. Like he is incredibly fun to play. Neil, you got hands on with Venom, right?
I did, yeah. So the beta, that's when he was released as part of the initial offering. So I think he's the first character I played. I'm really into Venom and as a character. Tanks as well. Most of the time I usually play kind of anything, but that swing kind of threw me off, that's for sure. It's nothing like the swinging in the Spider-Man games, right? You'd think would be a little more smooth than that, but maps, if you had more space, maybe it would be a little better. But if you're like hard hitting a wall and like kind of popping up, that was a bit rough. I wish it had kind of more range on it. Like I felt that finding or knowing how far to get those hits to work was hard for me. Like I would be hitting, but it wouldn't show that I'm actually hitting them. I'm like, okay, I need to be a bit closer than this. Like if it's going to be range, give it range. This mid-range or like little bit of range that's just me as a player. It's a bit confusing to me, right?
It's still real close.
Like, it is close.
Just like a couple steps back from. He's not. You don't have to quite be in melee range, but it's just like a couple steps back from that, and you can still get some hits. But, yeah, it's a different feel.
But that's one thing I think in general. I think the game can work on is kind of the hit. The feel of like the hit detection. I guess is the right way to say it, right? I mean, that's still
like nothing.
From the alpha to the beta, it got a little bit better, but it's still not quite there. And I was trying to see if there was any feedback on that from the Chinese test that was just happening, and I couldn't really find anybody, saying that it's really gotten better or not. So I'm hoping
weight to it.
Yeah, I'm hoping they'd be able to do that.
Speaking of that, like even when you're getting hit too, I felt that there need to be a bit more weight there, or like flashing on the screen when you're getting attacked, because it's like 0 health, you're dead, and a couple seconds you're like, what happened? Oh, I guess I was getting hurt. And I'm just coming off playing Space Marine 2, and that has a lot of weight to it. Your movement, you're feeling it kind of thing, and the big swings and stuff like that. So it definitely could use a little bit more of that for the feedback while you're playing.
Let's see. The other hero who we knew we were getting going into the beta was Adam Warlock. I don't know if you guys had time to play him personally. previous to Jeff being released, I think Warlock, for me personally, became my favorite healer. Like, I loved playing Adam Warlock, just standing back, being able to essentially snipe, because his basic attack was essentially just almost like a sniper. You were able to kind of just shoot right down the lane, take out enemies in the back line or whoever. But then also his healing possibility was great. The one ability where he pops it and you're able to kind of heal kind of that cluster of your team. I think it was the Avatar live stream, it was called, was great because you're not only are you targeting yourself, but you're targeting your allies as well. And being able to do that was awesome. So I found whenever I was playing that role of the support, I was able to heal pretty much the most with him up until Jeff pretty much came out, and then Jeff kind of took over for me for that. But
I played a little bit of Adam Warlock. I feel like the beta was very interesting because the meta rose and falls so quickly. So with Adam Warlock, he became the target because when he's killed, he can move and then regenerate somewhere. Right. And so you'd have those people who would just follow the ghost, and kind of like when Ana sleeps somebody in Overwatch and just kind of waits for them to wake up before, just like offing them there. They'd follow you wherever you went as Adam Warlock and just waited until you respawn to kill you again. And of course, that's it's the new character. Everyone wants to know how to take care of him. But for me, I was like, well, that's kind of okay. I'm playing this new character and I only have a limited amount of time in this beta to move on to something else because I can't get anywhere with this. So I'm interested to see if maybe that's tweaked. Maybe if there's a little bit more, like you can initially see the ghost as it moves away or something. I'd like to see a tweak with that. Just, not to where he can be hunted down, but it's like maybe instead you get the enemy team sees like a flash of light or something from where you do land and choose to respawn instead of just being able to see your character running away. I don't know. Maybe that's an unpopular opinion.
If you could fly up, I remember as that. So that's what I would do. I'd usually just immediately go up in the air and try to just get somewhere high where they wouldn't be able to see me. Or one other tip, Matt, is just don't die, I guess maybe is the
stay with your team.
Getting good.
Yeah, get good, maybe? I don't know. But no, I do agree with you because that did suck. I mean, it would always suck when it got wasted because somebody would find you immediately and you're just like, oh, shit, like, that's not, no, like, I didn't want that to happen. And then you wasted it. And I don't even remember what the cooldown is on it, but I want to say it was a pretty long cooldown. So you had to, like, you basically were losing that ability for a while.
Yeah, that was like, it was like almost 2 minutes or something. I remember it being like 110 or 120 seconds or something.
It was a lot.
Kind of reminds me of playing laser tag, and after you get shot, you're on a cooldown for a little bit. And you like start running away from the kids, and they just follow you and wait for your cooldown to come down and shoot you right away. Like, thanks, man, thanks.
Thanks, kids. Anybody else anything on Adam Warlock or no?
I don't think I healed at all. I think I played Rocket one game.
That tracks.
That's all that I did.
Yeah.
I remember
he was either Magneto or Venom, pretty much is all.
Kim's just like, give me a hammer.
Yes, please.
Yeah, the staff was pretty cool. Like his healing abilities was fun, and the Soulbound where it like shares the damage.
Yes, so that's I called it the Soul Stream. It's the Soulbound. That's the one.
Yeah, so you like soul bind with a tank or whatever, and you've spreading the damage around.
Yep. Just keep dropping that when you play him. It's great. All right, the other character then that kind of stealthily dropped. Let's start with Jeff, the good old land shark, and I can't wait till we do a lore episode on Jeff. But
I still have no idea who Jeff is.
What's everybody's thoughts on Jeff? What do you think of this character?
Go ahead.
Oh, I didn't get to actually play him, and I've just learned about him before we started recording here, and this guy looks amazing. He's going to be my new favorite hero. Lots of heals.
Once he got introduced, I was a Jeff main. Nice. As long as I could get him, because he became the character that people would snatch up so quickly.
Yes.
Yep.
as you can probably infer from the conversation so far, I'm not the best at games, and I just want to have a fun palate cleanser character, and this stupid dog shark with googly eyes fits the bill. And like his ability is called Joyful Splash. Like, come on. Like you're splashing characters with water to heal them. You're blowing bubbles. You're eating people and spitting them out on over the side of the map to their death. Like, come on. Like what is not to love about this? But he also became an instant target. For people was like, okay, once we kill Jeff, kill the shark first, then we can worry about everybody else. And it was especially when I think he could be chased because he has that ability, kind of like Venture does, where he could dive under the finger quotes water ground. And travel, but you could see him, and so people would literally just follow you and then kill you as soon as you popped up.
That is actually, Matt, one of the things they did change in the Chinese test was he has more speed when he goes under the ground. It's faster than he was before, so you can get away a lot better.
Lightning McShark.
Yeah, but dude, literally I would sit in the back and just keep like tossing those bubbles. And I think now that was the other thing. So he had 5 bubbles. Now you have 6 bubbles, and just kind of staying. I don't want to say I played him like I play Lucio as a healer, because Lucio, I'm usually kind of right up, like say we're pushing a payload, I'm like kind of right there with my tank, kind of staying with him. As Jeff, I would play back just a little bit, but then just keep spitting the bubbles like on both sides of the payload and just keep them going, and then turn around if my other healer's getting hurt, drop maybe one back there for him and just keep doing it. And the minute somebody comes up, go right down and just get out of there. And then his ultimate is one of the coolest ultimates, I think, in the game. It's kind of like what I wish Venom's did. Like Venom, you go on the ground and you kind of pop up and smash everybody.
Like big Venom symbiote teeth.
Yeah, this you're kind of creating a big whirlwind and just suck everybody down in, and then Neil, you just take him over to the side of a cliff and just throw everybody over the cliff. It's great. So you
I saw that too.
Yeah, I mean, you can also take your teammates and bring them somewhere safe. But who wants to do that?
No, we're not going. No.
We're sucking everybody.
You're bringing your teammates out of the battle. That's less.
That's
damage that you're putting
the
out, right?
That's the Lifeweaver non-consensual life grip, where you're
grabbed
out of battle and you're like, "Excuse me, I didn't ask."
Wait
for
a
this.
minute.
Switch off,
charge back. Well, is playing. So he was introduced before Venture was introduced in Overwatch just this past season, and I actually think they play kind of similarly together, where there's not a huge learning curve, but there's a lot of utility there if you can time your abilities right. So like Mark, what you were saying, making sure there are enough bubbles everywhere, and then constantly just splashing healing. If you can keep an eye on the whole field, like the people behind you, the people in front of you, making sure heals are distributed, like they're a solid player.
Yeah.
Not the best to attack. They're a little guy. So
I found I had better luck with him on payload maps rather than like control maps. Because with the payload, especially if you were on offense, you could just keep the bubbles going, keep your tanks alive, and just keep push. Where when it was control, and then at that point, where the enemy's coming, but if there's a team fight down on the battle, like I just wasn't able to, I couldn't feel like I keep the heals really on enough. Well, really, I guess maybe the bubbles I couldn't, the spitting heal maybe, but I don't know. And we forgot to mention number 1, he can go on Groot's shoulder like Rocket, which is cute as hell. And then also, if Luna Snow is on your team, there's a team up there where it creates like the frozen spitballs, so you can kind of freeze and slow down enemies.
That seems
pretty awesome.
Powerful.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
I loved when we had a Jeff.
What, Ken's?
What's that?
I said I loved when we had a Jeff because you could definitely tell, and I was just basically unkillable whenever Jeff was alive.
Nice. So he can attack too, right? Like do damage?
Yeah.
Because he's got his water stream do damage to enemies?
It either heals or does damage. Yep.
Oh, okay. And then his bubble is kind of like an Ana grenade, right? Like it also increases healing when you hit your friends with it.
Yep.
And heals them a little bit.
Yep.
I think gives them like
and they last, whereas like the Ana grenade is instantaneous. Boom,
they
gone.
stay on the ground.
Oh, too bad.
Yeah.
So it's like a pickup item. Okay,
And I think the
cool.
minute one is taken up, you can just spit another one. Because literally, I would just like heal, shoot, and then like when I saw my bubbles were coming back, just spit them out immediately. Just constantly flood the field. Actually, kind of how I play Penny Parker, constantly dropping those mines. Like the minute you have another mine, just throw another one. Just keep them dumping on the field as much as you can.
Just keep dumping everywhere.
Just take a giant dump. No, don't take a giant dump. Take multiple dumps.
You're dumping it.
You're dumping it. Also,
dump early and dump often.
That sounded like a very dad thing.
Moving on. Also released during the closed beta was Thor. And I'm going to be honest. Like, I love the design of Thor. He looks cool as hell. I just could not wrap my head around how to play this character. Like,
It's all about the Thor Force. You got to get the Thor Force going.
Yeah.
Which was, you build that up by doing some of his other abilities, and then the Thor Force is how you actually do damage with him.
Yeah. Thor Fourth.
Thor Fourth.
Thor Fourth. I do not remember Thor at all. I'm not gonna lie.
It was only like the last few days of the beta, right? That
I didn't get to play
him either.
I didn't get to play him as much as Venom, but I did. He was probably my second most that I played in the beta.
Mm-hmm.
And he needs a bit of tuning too. He's he's primarily melee, so he's right up in your face with the hammer. He can throw the hammer, but it just tickles people with it. Like it doesn't do much damage at all. And I think there's a bit of a knock.
I thought you could throw it. I thought you could throw it. No?
Knocks back. Yeah, you throw it. That's what I mean. Like when you throw it, but it just doesn't do much at all when you throw it. Again, it's like hitting people with a wet blanket, like how most of the heroes feel.
Oh.
And then he can dive in, like he like spins the hammer really fast, and then you can charge in with that. And so that's kind of, you can dive with him like that, and you can dive out like that. But he it's all about like using your abilities in order to get the Thor Force going. And then once you've got that, then he actually hits pretty hard.
So would you
transforms?
Would you ever go ahead, Neil?
Oh, with the Thor Force, he uses the transform thing and gives him ranged attacks, right?
Thor Fourth?
Yeah, he's shooting lightning everywhere.
Yeah, that seems pretty cool. This guy seems like a character I want to play. And can he fly in his normal movement or no?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Flyer, right?
Could he hover at all?
He hovered when the Thor Force thing was going.
Yeah, but it was just slightly off the ground.
You just,
right?
your movement speed's increased a bit, and that's how it shows as he's hovering.
Yeah, he definitely. Like I said, I couldn't necessarily play him well, but there were multiple matches I was in where the other team had a good Thor, and like you knew they had a good Thor because the guy was able to definitely rush. I remember a lot of Thors rushing in, and you just once he was on you, if you didn't have a good escape, you're done. Like you're just gonna get melted immediately. So. But I love his look and I love his skins. He's definitely a character I want to try to play
Donny
some
Cates
more.
Thor skin is pretty sick.
It is awesome.
Yeah, he's a tanky boy. Looks like.
Now, would you ever be interested in seeing like, if people are like, well, no, we want Thor to be more like this or like that? Would you say, okay, instead give me like Beta Ray Bill, or give me the Mighty Thor, Jane Foster, or give me another canon Thor instead
I don't know how or you could do like like unworthy Thor, that where it has like Stormbreaker or something like that.
Well, let me ask you this. Would you want that as a new character or just a skin? Like, do you want them to totally change his kit?
I think Jane Foster, maybe they could maybe do some different stuff with Jane Foster, and then if they went straight and like made her Valkyrie, that's a totally different character. But I think maybe.
Yeah.
Jane Foster Valkyrie is especially like sick with her weapon.
I don't remember what it's called, but it can like turn into like anything.
Yeah.
I mean, you almost wonder, like NetEase has said that the team ups are going to change like from season to season, possibly. So there'll be, different team ups to play.
That's cool.
So you almost wonder, imagine that, because this whole idea of this game is this, time stream, and there's like basically the multiverse of Marvel. So what if they do that? Like you move on to another season and suddenly we no longer have Thor, you have Jane Foster Thor. And, maybe you don't have Spider-Man, but the new Spider-Man, you have Miles. And they kind of swap these characters out, give some different abilities. I mean, in terms of the competitive play, I don't think that would work because that would totally flip the competitive scene where you want to have metas, you want to have consistency.
Just get good.
Remove characters completely from a season. I think that they could add them and be like, hey, this is like, kind of like whenever Overwatch introduced a new character, they haven't been tuned hardly at all, and they're super OP, and everybody plays them. It could be like that. This is like the featured hero,
or like Mirror Watch.
Go have fun, or something like that.
Yeah. I don't think they should take away the existing characters, especially if you do a lot of practice with them and learn all their stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And I think just more characters seems a lot better. The changing the team ups is something that is very cool about this game, and that I think is gonna give it an edge on its the other games like it. And I'm just always thinking about that, like with is it with Thor? Yeah, so it's Thor, Hela, and Loki. Hela kills people and it revives Thor and it revives Loki as you do it. So if you get the 3 of them on a team, and that just seems really overpowered, and it seems like if that just becomes the meta, then those are the characters and they'll just keep playing those characters. One way to change it up is next season, that's not a team up anymore. I think that's a good idea too.
I think that's the mindset, Neil, if they're trying to do is like they can basically force the meta. I don't want to say to go away, but they can kind of put their hand and really change the meta rather than just having to change a percentage of damage or whatever. They can literally change like abilities. Because not only do you sometimes have those team ups where it's something like that, but sometimes like look at Magneto and Scarlet Witch. I mean, it gives Magneto a full other ability.
Yeah.
And which by the way, that is sick. Another Chinese test thing. They did nerf that sword that he has, which was totally overpowered. But
cowards.
So much fun.
But like that's cool, right? That they can. So then I know they've stated like the team ups they want to do that, but then even if just in general the team ups seem to be just not working with the community, they just might remove them completely. But I think they work. I think that idea of like every season just changing things up like that is awesome. Like,
or even having like it's kind of like a map pool if you think about it. Like think about the competitive possibility with that, where it's if you're say there's one day like the Marvel Rivals League or whatever, and the whole gimmick of it is you don't know what team ups are going to be a part of it, and it's like randomized until you're there in the match. And so that is, I think that's, correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like that would be super unique. Probably a little frustrating, but forcing your players, especially professional players, if this becomes a thing like that, to be that versatile in being able to cover, X amount of characters instead of just like one tricking.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It'd be pretty sweet.
That comes from a one tricker. So, I mean,
well, Matt, you mentioned Mirrorverse and our next hero, Captain America. So we've yet to get hands-on Cap, but we've been able to see some gameplay. And the reason I mentioned Mirrorverse, which for those of you that don't know, that was an event that came to Overwatch where they essentially added some abilities to some heroes. And I never played Doomfist in Overwatch, but when they released him in Mirrorwatch, I just fell in love with the character. Having a shield that I could pop up like a Reinhardt type shield, dive in, punch. It was just you could play very aggressive with him. And watching Cap's gameplay, I can't help but feel he's going to play like that because you have that shield. He has the ability to dive in, get a couple shots. I think you do 2 shots, and then that third, he tosses the shield. Plus, he has an ability to throw the shield. His ultimate, he's able to pop kind of like a, Avengers Assemble type inspiration, I guess, to kind of get everybody where they're doing more damage, they're healing. I cannot wait to play this character. He looks like he's going to be so much fun to play him like just aggressive. And I kind of love that this game has a lot of like dive tanks in it. I don't want to say Overwatch doesn't, but
it's great,
but they don't, and I think when you go to 6v6, you're able to have that. You can have your standard tank and then have that other tank, your off tank, be that one that's able to dive. And it just makes it, I don't know, just makes it a lot of fun. What do you guys think of Cap so far looking at his kit?
I love the team up that they show with Thor. So it's
what I was going to mention.
He gets charged up with the Thor Thorforth,
Yeah,
and
Thorforth.
his shield becomes like an electric frisbee, electrocutes, and that's 10 seconds to have an attack like that. You can do some damage if timed right. Yeah.
Is it like a passive AoE?
That's a great question.
Like it just makes his attacks lightning, I think.
Yeah, it's like a
chain lightning, but
I sounds kind of like a different effect to a nano from Ana. You'll power it up, but it's just like you're powered up.
Cool.
Yeah, it says, with an electrifying enhancement, Captain America gains a movement boost, and his shield is imbued with thunder power, electrocuting nearby enemies. So, yeah. And I actually really like the art for him, too. I think he looks pretty cool.
That's also what I was going to mention, is that the art for... I love the just general art style of this game, because they're able to keep... the traditional things, the way heroes look, but also just the style of it is unique. Like, it's got its own unique look to it. And I love like a good cell shaded style. So this is speaking to me.
I mean, they all look like little action figures. It's just awesome. Like, I mean, you look at Captain even right now, and we're going to move on to Winter Soldier. Looking even at him, like, they just look like... I don't want to say like a He-Man action figure, but just how they were kind of oversized, like oversized muscles and everything. They just look great. The whole style of this game is just fantastic. But let's talk Bucky. So Winter Soldier, he has the range. He kind of has I guess it's essentially like a shotgun, but it is, I don't know. It almost looks more like a pistol, but I think you only get like 3 shots with this thing. But he also has a hook, his bionic hook. So you kind of shoot the arm, you're able to pull enemies towards you. So think like a Roadhog hook. You're able to pull people to you. So even people that are up in the air hovering, you can pull them down. He then has this like charge voltage ball he's able to shoot out. But to me, the thing that really I think has me with him is his ultimate, where you basically jump up in the air and smash down. And as long as you get a kill, it resets. And so I've seen a couple videos out there of people literally resetting that ultimate 3 or 4 times. So when you get into a team fight, if your tank's doing their job, your other DPS is doing their job, and they're keeping everybody at a low health pool, you're just going to come in and just decimate as Winter Soldier. What do you guys think of him? It's
like Reaper meets Roadhog meets Lifeweaver grip.
He's got a lot going on.
I want to know. He feels a little bit like a Kit Bash, like when you created your own, kind of action figure from like the pieces that you have around. It's like, oh, I noticed, the arm fell off this guy, but it has the same socket as this guy does. So let me, just give him this crazy metal android arm. I'm really excited to see what the character plays like. Watching video of it, it just looks like he's gonna destroy. And I'm very interested to see what good players can do with him.
Yeah.
They've done the reset ultimate on kill in other MOBAs I've played. I remember in League there's somebody that has it. It's one of like the assassin players. They go in, do a lot of damage, and if you get a kill, it goes. So it's successfully been done before, and I know you see it when they're trying it out in that training room or whatever with the little bots, right? But you think about it, there's 6 players. If you get 1 or 2, you could maybe reset a couple times, but it's a finisher, right? You want to try and do that. So it does sound pretty overpowered, but you do have to actually hit the people, and they have to die from it. So it's kind of waiting as long as you can. If you just
you ain't seen me play him yet. You think he's overpowered? Wait till Matt plays him.
Yeah, and
ain't nothing resetting there.
Yeah.
He's not that tanky, I assume, and I assume he'll be first target that people will be going after to make sure he doesn't get the chance to finish off the other team.
Yeah,
we'll see.
So set Jeff as bait.
Yeah, I'm a little concerned, but I think it just depends on how he's tuned. I think Genji has a it's not his ultimate, but it's like his slash will reset whenever you kill somebody with it, but that's not an ultimate. So we'll see.
Well, speaking of Genji, The final hero we're going to mention here that has been officially announced. I know people out there, you may be saying, there's other heroes that are being hinted at, and we're literally been waiting every day for Moon Knight to come out, but they have not announced Moon Knight yet. But Psylocke has officially been revealed. We've yet to really see gameplay of her. She was not in the Chinese test. But this is kind of being described what seems to be kind of a Genji-like character, where you have, the slashes with the sword. She's able to go invisible. The trailer shows her running along rooftops. We even see her ultimate, where she's able to, basically, she's in like a group of those practice spots, and essentially like ping pongs between like 3 or 4 of them, just murdering them all. I mean, it looks so cool. So I can only imagine in a team fight when a Psylocke comes into the middle of that, maybe just stand back a little bit, let the engagement begin, and then just get into that thing and hit that ultimate. I mean, you're just going to like slaughter the whole team if everybody's grouped up just right. I mean, you're going to see videos out there, I think, of, plays of the game that are just ridiculous. What do you guys think of Psylocke?
Outside of the abilities, I think it's really cool to see them lean into kind of like the either ninja or assassin aspect of the character, because Psylocke has lived so many lives in the comics. A very, I don't know if convoluted character is the word, but just has had a lot of storylines and a lot of different focuses. And I love that being kind of like a multiversal game, they can kind of pinpoint in on one of these, because this absolutely fits the game and the narrative, almost like they could have not drag and drop, but it's like we need who is kind of ninja-esque, who is, say they did just want to like, oh, we need somebody with a sword, we need somebody like Genji. I doubt that happened in a developer's room, but it's an easy character to draw that from.
Right.
I like the way that they kind of had announced her. It was, okay, we've got a quiz for you, and then
that's right.
You get the things answered correctly, we'll give you an image of who the character is. I thought that was a cool way to do it, just to dig more into the lore. And Psylocke, somebody I don't know rarely anything about. I had the card in Marvel Snap, and that's about as far as it went. So I'm excited when we do our deep dive on her, so Matt can enlighten me on who this character is, what she does, what she's all about.
Well, this is specifically this one is inspired by a newer version of the character. If anybody knows the artist Peach Momoko, who's been doing a lot of great stuff in Marvel lately, based on a version of the character in her recent book, Demon Days. So check it out.
Nice. All right. Well, that's kind of it. Like I mentioned, I think everybody was hoping that Moon Knight was going to possibly be announced here. I think everybody was looking at Halloween as maybe being the day. But as of right now, no official announcement. So we're just going to have to wait and see when we're going to get that. But all right, let's move on here to our news segment that we call Not So Daily Bugle.
J. Jonah Jameson here.
All right, so we are 1 month away from the game. And earlier today, the executive producer for Marvel Games, Danny Koo, actually over on the Reddit page, not on the Reddit, this is on Discord, did say that news should begin dropping daily very, very soon. And just before we started recording this, sure enough, we got our first post from Marvel Rivals. And so they said just 33 days until the Marvel Rivals launch on December 6th, and we're kicking off our countdown strong. And then they got a clip of Hulk, kind of showing Hulk the, what do you want to say? Like, I guess when you click on him in the game, kind of that whole clip that he kind of goes through. And it says, become a true force of fury on the battlefield in Marvel Rivals as a brilliant Dr. Bruce Banner and his monstrous ego, the Incredible Hulk. And then they put out another tweet showing the skin, which I believe the skin was in the beta, the Scar, the Hulk green Scar from, what's that, Planet Hulk? I think that was, not Planet Hulk, World War Hulk.
Sakaar?
Yeah. So I guess we should start expecting every day we're going to start getting these tweets. I mean, 33 days to launch.
I hope it's good content. That's all I got to say, because there's already enough hype for this built up. I think you've got your player base.
Yeah.
More that they had people frothing at the mouth to get in and play the alpha and the beta. So it's going to be high downloads when it releases.
Mm-hmm.
But I hope that it's worthwhile and it's not just like, oh, and we're adding a skin and we're adding another skin and we're adding a spray. Tell me some of the stuff about what you tuned between the tests from now and then. Like, let us look behind the curtain a little bit.
Yeah.
We don't need all just like the flashy Marvel stuff. We like games, so give us some of the gamey stuff.
I think
they attached a contest with this one too. You can win a sweater or something.
A hoodie, yeah.
If you
repost the Hulk tweet on X, you can get you're entered into a way to get
10 whole people.
Yep.
Woo.
Hey, as of right now, only 1.9 thousand. So what, 1,900 people. Yeah. So
let the record show
there's a chance.
Let the record show that we all also applied to the alpha and none of us got in, and it was only through the good graces of a listener to Mark's other show that any of us got to play. So
and then we started the hype train. Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you do the math, so 33 days, I think we only have 26 characters, 27 characters right now.
26.
So
I just counted.
They can't really go in and just do a character a day. I guess theoretically they could do a character and a skin a day, but I hope they just do what they did here. Show us Hulk, show us the skins that are going to be there day one for whatever that character is. Hulk only had that other skin. I'm hoping we get newer skins than what were just in the beta and the alpha, but if that's all we get at launch, it is what it is. But I hope we also get new characters, maybe as it gets closer. But then also, I just want, like you said, Matt, like that peek behind the curtain, like a Q&A maybe, a developer Q&A. I mean, they have done those dev posts that they've done, but give us something a little bit more meaty and even new maps. Like we haven't seen the Wakanda map yet that they teased. So give us a fly through of that map. Give us maybe, is there any other modes? I mean, there's got to be, what do we have? 3 maps, I think right now? There were 3 locations, I guess, in the alpha and the beta, right? Is it just 3? I mean, the one with the control points, you had 3 within that game mode. But 3 or 4, and so there's got to be more. So I don't know. And you can give us maybe an open beta. I'll take that. If you want to give me that too, that's fine.
Between now and then.
Yeah, that's fine.
We're actually launching live early.
I feel like the amount of heroes is fine for launch.
Like
totally.
Even with without the last 3 or 4 that they've added. They've got a lot there, and I think it's better to focus on what you got rather than just flood with more characters, more options. What do you guys think that they're going to have as like a release cadence for new heroes? How often do you think? Like every couple months, every few months, every season, kind of like what Overwatch is doing every 2 seasons, like 2 heroes a year, but like they already have the bigger pool. But I wouldn't be upset with that. Like do a hero every 2-3 months.
I guess it depends on how big a pool of characters do you think it needs. Does it need to be something like League or Heroes of the Storm, where there are
RIP
lots pour one out, or
eventually
is there like a 35 cap or a 40 cap that you want to go for?
I mean, here's my thought on it is you look at a game like Overwatch, because they wanted that to be, they went into that, I guess, with the idea of that game trying to be competitive. So that's, I personally think that's why we have such a lower number of heroes in Overwatch. But then that's the thing. I mean, League went in looking to be competitive too, and they have over 100 characters, so like it doesn't really make a difference. But I think with this game, because the Marvel IP, and they've stated before, like sky's kind of the limit, like of the different heroes and characters that everybody's going to want in this game. I just have a feeling they're going to continually be pumping these out. Now, what is that cadence going to be? Because I don't want it to be too short where we're literally getting a hero every month, because at that point I think it's just going to get watered down. Like it needs to make sense when they put the characters in, and you don't want to put in a character that just either comes out way overpowered or hits just as a flop, and then nobody plays them. Like all the hype's there, they look cool, but then nobody plays them because their kit is just garbage.
Okay.
So it's
hear me out.
A fine line.
Hear me out real quick. Has anybody here read Exiles, the comic?
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
So essentially what it is it's a big multiversal thing, and all of these different characters from different universes are put together in a team. Think kind of if you saw Marvel's What If on Disney Plus, where at the end there's like the Guardians of the Multiverse. It's all these different characters, and from time to time, every few issues, one is either killed or decides to leave, and another character is plucked. And so it's just this constantly rotating cast of characters, which are super sick. If you can find the books to read, they're amazing. Really boosted the profile of Blink, especially, and Nocturne, the daughter of Nightcrawler. But what if there's like a rotating roster feature where it's like, you know what, we're going to give you a new forgive me, I can't remember the specific Rivals terminology, but we're going to give you a new tank this season,
Vanguard.
but we are for the next season, Thor is going to take a trip into the multiverse, and they replace Thor with this new tank.
I don't like that. Don't take away things I already have.
Okay.
Now,
yeah, that reminds me of when Destiny took away planets and said, "Okay, we're gonna Savathun has taken our parts of our solar system, and goodbye to them, and you can't play them anymore."
I mean, that's the thing. If you're selling skins, you don't want to take away things that people pay for, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the fear. But I do like the idea, Matt, because that's the thing. We completely glossed over the fact that this game has a story. That, these two Doctor Dooms are fighting in the future and all that's happening. And there's Galactica, the daughter of Galactus. And it's cool how in the battle pass, as you progress it, they're adding little bits. So that would almost make sense where if every season something happened in the story and they were able to kind of pull people that way.
Or maybe that's how you get your character previews, where it's like this character has, been pulled out of the multiverse for just a little bit, but
I don't know.
They have to leave. I don't know.
It could be a game mode where you only, it has featured characters where you're only doing certain things. I know that, like, one thing I don't want to happen, but how League does it is they have like a featured character rotation, but all of those heroes are paid. And so they have like they have like featured champions, but they are free. And those rotate, and so it's like everybody's playing those. If you don't own, everything, if you haven't been playing the game since the beginning. Heroes did that too, because Heroes of the Storm, they were also paid. So I don't want that. But
they've already stated all the heroes will be free, so they're gonna everybody's getting the heroes. That's one mistake they're not gonna make. So
that's good. That's very good news.
Yeah. But again, if you're selling skins, it's like, okay, we're giving you the heroes for free, you get the skins, but then if you buy a skin, they can't then pull that hero out of the store, and it's like, wait a minute, where's my skin? Like, I paid money, this is the Doctor Strange I like to play, and then Doctor Strange is going on a trip? Like, no, you can't do that.
I don't think that it'll be an oversaturated problem for a while. Like Overwatch, I looked up some numbers, Overwatch has 41 heroes, and that's since 2016. So, it's taken that long to get 41 heroes. League has like over 160, and so, but in this game is starting with 26. Overwatch started with 21. Concord started with 16, and it's dead.
Yeah.
So it's
it's not enough.
Doesn't exist
Pour
anymore.
another one out.
Anyway, so I think it's gonna be a while before there's that saturation of heroes, but eventually they'll have to. Do something to.
I don't want to say I can assure you, but I'm going to place a bet that this game it'll be much quicker, the cadence of heroes, because I think the demand is going to be there for it. With Overwatch, sure, everybody wanted new heroes, but you don't know what you want because they were making up the heroes. This is like,
those
everybody's
heroes
minds
are
just going crazy because the IPs, So I think that's where this is really going to be like the community is going to just say, give me this hero. They already are. I mean, if you're in the Reddit, or if you go to the Discord, it's nonstop. People coming up with concepts, which is super cool. It's fun going in there and speculating all of that. But that's what I think like half of this community is just going to be doing nonstop is like, give me this hero, me this hero.
I think you got to get in the pattern of like the class of hero. Like you're going to get one type, you know that it's going to be A, B, C, A, B, C, because
that's a great
idea. I think it's a interesting and weird balance that game companies have to take between listening to the fans and exercising creative control over something that they are in charge of and they are creating. Yes, you're dependent upon people playing your product, but also at the end of the day, it's your product. You know, it's this weird back and forth that I don't envy anyone for trying to find the balance of, who tries to find that balance of it. Like we just said Concord, like the whole studio was just shuttered because that game didn't hit. It had a passionate, very small fan base.
Very small.
But I mean, I don't know. I for one am like, I just want to see what they want to do because they have a vision. And I hate it when people are so vocal to the point where it's like, no, we know what we want because we are the fans and we are the ones who they're catering to and they need to listen to us. But I don't know.
Must be nice for them, all these people doing their job for them, right? Like, okay, well, I got some ideas. Let's see what everybody else thinks and pick the best of, because
it's easy. You do this, you do that, bam, put them in the game.
Well, speaking of people getting out there and talking about all the different heroes and all that upcoming, there actually was a recent interview with Thaddeus Sasser. He's the games director. He spoke with videogamer.com, and he kind of brought up the concept of data mining. So I don't know if anybody out there saw this, but quick little recap. He's out there just talking about data mining with Marvel Rivals and how people were able to kind of data mine some of the hero lists, and you can go out there and find that. I think here on the show, I mean, I mentioned Moon Knight, but like we're not going to go out of our way to spoil any of that. And that's kind of what he's talking about. So he says, data mining, it's a really big deal. He says, think about it this way. Would you rather find out about an uncertain leak you're not sure about, and then it gets confirmed weeks later, and then ends up in the game in 3 months? Or would you rather have something that drops as a beat that tells you, hey, your favorite new character is coming and it's available tomorrow? And he says that, he knows that's what he would prefer. Is to kind of have that quickly. And he says also they iterate all the time, and sometimes things they iterate don't get into the game at all. He says you iterate, you go, this wasn't good enough, it gets cut, and so that's another potential risk. You might be getting hyped up for something that doesn't even make it. And I think that's kind of a problem because you see that a lot. Like people will data mine something. I mean, this happened with Destiny all the time. People would data mine something and be like, oh, we can't wait, this is coming, and then it builds up that anticipation and that hype, and then when the updates start coming out and the thing that the people want isn't in there, it's not in there because it doesn't work in the game, or it's not fitting to the play style, or not living up to the hype that the developers wanted it to be. And then the community gets mad, they get outraged, and eventually sometimes it may get forced or pushed into the game, but it's not ready to be there. And so I kind of feel for him here because it's like, the team wants there to be surprises, and personally as a fan, especially as a Marvel fan, I want these things to be surprising when we see them. Like the Psylocke reveal was awesome. It was like character I wasn't even thinking about. Didn't even think a character, she'd be in the game, and suddenly you see the trailer and it's like, whoa, that's awesome. Like they're putting her in the game. Even, again, I say we aren't going to talk spoilers. This Moon Knight stuff, everybody's going all crazy for Moon Knight. There's the whole Reddit page and all that was building the hype to it being announced on Halloween, and then it wasn't. And then they're all mad and all upset. And it's like, well, if you didn't data mine that or didn't have that, like you wouldn't be mad or upset over it. Like, let them do their job. There's a reason why these companies hire community managers and they have these marketing plans, and like, let that play out because it's fun. I don't know. What are you guys' thoughts on all that?
So this isn't to say that, all data mining is bad, because in its, I guess, start, data mining is the practice of using data from the product that you've made to improve it. So, developers data mine to see the trends in actions and, things from the players of the product on their end. And that is what it is meant to be. But as I encounter this a lot in my career as a journalist. There is this like edge that people are trying to ride with being the first to something.
Yep.
Right.
Whether or not they are accurate, whether or not they are fully contextual, a lot of people don't care about. As long as they can be the first one to say Psylocke is the next one coming. I dug through the files and Moon Knight is the next one coming. I dug through the files and Dogpool is the next one to come. You know, that is, I just
You
pulled
heard it
that
here
out of the air.
first.
I just
Yep.
pulled that out of the air. And I hate the conversation because it's such a selfish practice. It's seeking something for yourself and putting aside like the community with which the game is meant to build. Like, it's a cooperative game. It is meant to, help people come together who want to celebrate their love of these characters and of this, even if they don't like the characters, this type of game. Like the spoilers that came out for Deadpool, not that was data mining, but that was much on Marvel's part because they were revealing things the day the movie came out. Like, I still haven't seen the movie because everything in the movie was spoiled for me, and I'm up there with one of the biggest Marvel fans. I won't say I'm the biggest, but I'm
shocked. I did not know you've not seen that movie yet.
I still have not.
Wow.
I lost all like.
But I don't blame you because that does take a lot of the fun out of it.
Yeah.
It's like, why do I need to see it? I know exactly what happens. I know exactly who shows up. I know who the villain is. There will be no surprises for me. It's coming to Disney Plus soon, and maybe I'll catch it there over the holidays. But that it took the wind out of my sails. And that's the kind of thing that, if I'm just a fan and that happened, think about like if I'm a developer and someone has like ripped that secret away from me. I don't know. It just puts a bad taste in my mouth.
I think it has a lot to say for spoilers in general. There's a data mining news this week in World of Warcraft where there was a mount that was data mined in Warlords of Draenor, which released in 2014, 10 years ago, and was never put into the game. And they're putting it in the game in an upcoming patch. And so it's like, this is a 10-year long thing that people have been waiting for because it was data mined that long ago, and it never got put into the game, and now it is. And so I kind of think they did that on purpose. Like, oh, let's build the hype, and then it'll be a really big deal when we finally do put it out. But yeah, I mean, I don't like it. I think I don't like to be spoiled for anything. I know that what is a spoiler, is sometimes an interesting topic that's subjective from person to person. But I don't watch a lot of trailers for things. Like, most of the time, like, a trailer is meant to get you hyped to like, all right, I'm going to go see that. And a lot of times, like, I don't need. Like, there's a new Daredevil trailer for like the show that's coming out. I'm not gonna watch it because I know I'm gonna watch the show. So, it's just that I want this feeling that like this developer's talking about. The surprise of something happening feels much better than like, oh, I saw that, and now I know it's coming, which is still great, but it does, like Matt says, it takes the wind out of your sails a little bit sometimes.
Yeah.
I found it interesting that he talked about how they have a whole team that cleans up their files before they release them of any sort of references to names of other characters or whatever. So like, they're trying what they can on it to stop it from happening because they know it's going to happen. But it's just like putting a lot more effort into something like that rather than working on the actual product, right? It's a non-value add activity just to try and make the experience better for the fans. So it's too bad.
Yeah. I was surprised at that too, Neil. The fact that like they literally have to have a team of people to do that. You just wouldn't think of that. And probably, teams years ago never thought they would need that. And now that's a concession, especially in a big game like this. Like, I mean, he mentions the IP is so big that like, it's not like you could hide things really in there and people really wouldn't know what it was because it's a reference to a character that they don't even know about yet. This is like, no, people know Marvel. Like, they know their characters, and any reference to anything is going to get found.
You see the words Moon Knight somewhere, and it's like, okay, well, Moon Knight's not in the game, so like he's coming.
Khonshu, what's that?
Yep.
Well, it's such a luxury too, because one, you have NetEase, talk about like the money behind that,
Right.
but then you have Marvel and the money they're throwing into it, so they have the resources to have a team like this. Think about if this were a smaller game, even if it were still like a AAA thing, they might not have the resources, just the hype behind it, to do all this. And some dirtbag is sitting out there going, we'll see. Like cracking their knuckles, getting ready to be like,
I'm getting extra followers.
Oh, I'll be the one to do this.
I mean, probably day one when the game comes out and that file is out there, it's going to get data mined within like 24 hours. They're going to be like, here's the next character coming is this. And you're going to get that.
Or we all spam everything with like the stupidest, like anti rumors, where it's like, I'm trying to think of Howard the Duck, and
I actually would like Howard the Duck. That'd be pretty sweet.
I was just about to say, I was like, I know
that
some
would be
people
pretty cool, actually.
would probably be jonesing for
just
Howard
smoking
the Duck.
a cigar the whole time. Great. All right. Well, let's move on here. Let's pass to our news segment, which hopefully, I mean, if we're going to get updates every day, hopefully it's not just those skins and characters. We should hopefully be getting some news. And you know what? I think the interesting thing is I bet the team is going to be out here now that we're kind of into the big marketing push leading up here with a month to go. There's probably going to be some more interviews like that coming out soon. So we'll be definitely breaking those down here on the show. But let's move on to our weekly lore segment that we call the Cerebro Files. All right, so this week for week number
Nice
one,
bumper.
we are talking about Captain America, of course, everyone's favorite, including Ken's, number one hero. And Matt, I'm gonna let you kind of give just a brief synopsis. You're kind of our lore guy here when it comes to comics compared to all of us. I mean, we do read Marvel comics. I am definitely a Marvel Nazi. I am or Marvel Zombie. I am a Marvel.
Choice of words.
I know, right? A subscriber
That's coming
to
for you.
Marvel Unlimited. I'm thinking Captain America Nazis. He punches Hitler in the face. Come on. I'm a subscriber to Marvel Unlimited, which I recommend everybody else should be as well. It's incredible. But Matt, go ahead. Give us the Captain America.
Yes. Well, I'm by no means an expert. Let me put that out there. And I don't consider myself an expert. I'm just a avid comic fan. And if to anybody who's listening, if there is anything important that you feel we leave out, please feel free to message us. Captain America, I think if anyone is familiar with the mainstream MCU, then you're familiar with a good portion of what Captain America has been in the comics. Now, MCU veers towards a very specific storyline that is introduced later. When Captain America was introduced in the beginning of his run, it was very much kind of like the first part of Captain America, the First Avenger, right? He is scrawny little Steve Rogers. He wants to do his part to serve his country. I'm sweeping through all of this, so I'm not going to hit all the major notes. He receives the super soldier serum. He becomes Captain America. He takes Bucky as his kind of like crime fighting pal, who is kind
Robin.
of like much younger. Yeah. Very much like the Silver or Golden Age Batman Robin relationship there. And throughout, it's very much, the World War II, the Red Skull, Hitler shows up, very much that kind of, I hate to say propaganda comic, but
it kind of was,
very
man.
much kind of romancing that period of time, if you will. He's had a lot of different villains that he's gone up against. Baron Zemo, a couple of them, Crossbones, Jack-o'-lantern, Viper, Red Skull, Nuke, one of my personal favorites, Batroc, Zola. I mean, you could keep going. The Serpent Society. But there's an interesting period around like the 70s and 80s when he kind of goes through this, not identity crisis, but there's a time where he stops being Captain America. He becomes a hero known as Nomad, kind of hangs up the shield, if you will. The mantle of Captain America is passed around to a few different people, not just Steve Rogers. There are actually a few, I won't get into them now, but if you just go to your trusty Google, or if you're a fan of the big DK illustrated like reference books, they have one completely on Captain America. That's a nice thick one. They also have one on like the Marvel Universe. They have one on the Avengers, and they're beautiful like reference size books that have panels taken out of the comics along with comic art and like 2-page summaries of character history along with like pivotal moments from the comics, which are fantastic. And I have some that I collected when I was younger. The storyline people will most likely be familiar with is the Winter Soldier arc, Ed Brubaker. Whether or not they know it, Man at a Time, where Captain America is frozen, brought into the present. That is pretty much what was adapted for the MCU with Chris Evans. But kind of alluding to what I mentioned earlier with Ken's, like Captain America was not always the forefront Marvel character like he is now. Like when you think Marvel now, you think Captain America, you think Iron Man. I feel like those are the first two that people think of. And that's very much thanks to the MCU, who brought him to that prominence again. He was not an A-list character, I feel, before that. The leader of many of the Avengers teams, not always the leader. Some important events, he faced off against Iron Man in Civil War, some great comic arcs, which I believe we're going to talk about. But such a rich history of character. Unfortunately, like many mainstream popular or not so popular heroes, but just been along for a long time, he changed hands so much that Steve Rogers specifically, the Captain America we're talking about, has had so many different versions, some inconsistent with what many feel is the heart of the character. But at the end of the day, he is like how Chris Evans portrays him is, I feel, a very faithful adaptation to what the heart of Captain America is. The person with a lot of they're valiant. They have a lot of integrity. They stand for truth and justice, which hopefully many people see as the American way. But yeah, I feel like that's a big overview. Lots of interesting storylines that you can dive into on it. But yeah.
What I want to say about Cap, and this is appealing to listeners and then even kind of to Ken's in terms of Marvel or of Cap. For me, like when I started reading, I think it was probably 1990 or 91 was when I got into the comics. And at that time, when you look at where the
1900s,
the 1900s, believe it or not. So X-Men was huge. I think the cartoon wasn't out at that point, but you had like that Claremont run kind of coming back with, the kind of the relaunch of X-Men #1. For me, like I love Spider-Man, of course, and like Ghost Rider, because we're starting the Danny Ketch Ghost Rider was kind of coming out at that point. Avengers and all that, I just never got into. But part of that was because as the 90s went on, you were flooded by the X-Men cartoon, the Spider-Man cartoon. You had all that. They tried to do the Iron Man and the Hulk cartoon, but none of that really kind of went anywhere. I think there even was a Captain America cartoon at that point. Then you moved into, of course, the X-Men movies, and like Cap was just a character that I never really cared to read. Even when was it Brubaker? Is that his name? That wrote the Winter Soldier arc. Like I was reading comics at that time. And I remember the headline of the Winter Soldier reveal, it's Bucky. Like that was like such a huge deal. Like when that was revealed. Well, come on, people have seen the movies. But like that was such a huge deal when that was announced. But I wasn't in a Cap. And it wasn't until the MCU version. And I remember even seeing the First Avenger and kind of being like, whatever. That's kind of what I always saw as Captain America. But the end of that movie kind of caught me. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Because I didn't even really know the Man Out of Time story. I mean, I collected Civil War as it came out, but wasn't really into it so much because of the Avengers. But then I went back and said, all right, well, let me go back and see what the story was about. And it wasn't until I read, this is what I urge everybody to read, because it's probably in my top 3 comic stories ever, or arcs, is the Winter Soldier arc. It leads directly into Civil War. And like my perspective on that arc now is that almost modernized comics. Not only just Cap himself, but it just grounds so much in reality. And like the way it gets into like almost a spy drama with kind of S.H.I.E.L.D. at play there and all that's happening. I think every comic moving forward or in the Marvel universe really kind of adapted that style where it really kind of, I mean, do you agree with that, Matt? Like I can't help but feel like prior to that arc, 100%. So much of it was so much more just superheroes. And, you still kind of had that, I don't want to say like silver golden age feel, which it didn't. I mean, X-Men still kind of modernized things, but like it's at that point where like I think comics just kind of switched, and or at least Marvel did, where it went more to the reality. I don't know. I don't know. It's just a feel that I always had about it. And so, dude, that's where literally then now Cap, to me, when I look at him, he's different. He's not the hokey guy that wears a suit that kind of looks like it's like scales on him. Like what are these? And these little, white feathers or whatever in his cap. Like now it's like, no, he's just a badass Steve Rogers, and like he's got that shield and he's gonna kick your ass and he's gonna beat the hell, but he's gonna always do it with the right morals and virtues and values and always stand up for what's right. He's always gonna do what's right. And so I urge everybody to read that arc because it will totally change your mindset on Cap.
Yeah, because go ahead.
Oh, what's the story of the shield? Okay, so let's just he's a super soldier. Okay, you got the serum in him, so strength, speed, all that stuff, and then he's got the shield. Where does that come in? And has he had any other weapons or utilities that he's used?
He's got a motorcycle.
Motorcycle.
He crashes through buildings, which is amazing.
Okay.
So the shield is it's overgone. It's underwent a lot of changes over the years. Originally, he had kind of like the pennant triangle shield, more of that he could
a shield
could hit with. I believe. Oh, I could be wrong. Well, he was issued the shield when he enlisted, and it was just steel, and he got a gun. Like standard.
That's what I thought. I thought he had
issue.
Gun.
Yeah.
And that was like a lot of the older comics have that. But I think the iconography of the shield became the sticking point, and then it evolved to like the round shield that we know and love today. For a time, he had the energy shield generated from a gauntlet that he would wear. It was just like hard light, basically. If anybody is an Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. fan, Coulson has it for like an episode or two. Really sick effect. But then, it's just kind of like at one point it became adamantium. And it just kind of like improving, choose my words carefully, his ability make the shield what it is, basically. Like you can make a better shield and a better shield, but unless it's in the hands of Captain America, it's not getting its full marginal utility.
Right.
Yeah, those throws are pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Ping, ping.
Just like throwing it off at people.
I mean, could you just imagine how much that would hurt if that thing like just hit
you're
right
done.
in your forehead?
You're dead.
Your sternum is crushed and like you're dead.
Like, how does it bounce off someone's head? Why doesn't it just stick in their skull and be done? Like, I always kind of wondered that. Like, he'll throw it and it's like ding, ding, ding. Hits like 5 like Hydra agents. It's like, dude, that ain't bouncing off nothing. That's cutting through them or just stuck into the skull. Crazy.
That's what we saw in Captain America and the Winter Soldier on Disney Plus. When U.S. Agent.
Oh, correct. Yes, that's right.
Yeah, that's how it should be. No, I don't. I don't. To preface, I definitely don't hate Captain America. I think Captain America is great. I didn't, unlike Mark, like I didn't grow up reading comics. I didn't have access to comic store until I moved where I live now. And so I didn't really start reading comics until like 2016, 2017. And so that was like Marvel's Fresh Start or whatever the one was before Fresh Start, maybe, because they do theirs like they
number one.
That was right around the time of Secret Empire.
I missed Secret Empire, so I didn't read. Cool. I've read it since then, but I didn't read it like as it was. I think Civil War 2 was somewhere around there, or maybe that was earlier. I don't know, but I read that one. So first, I'm just like shooting, just shots in the dark at things that I think are cool. And this is post MC or MCU's very well established. We're like creeping up on the Endgame at this point, or Infinity War. And so, I liked First Avenger. I liked the Avengers. Weirdly enough, Winter Soldier now is good, but at the time, it missed me. Like I was like, I don't see what's so great about this.
Whoa,
I didn't see it. It is the only Marvel. It is the only MCU movie that I did not watch in theaters. And a lot of that was just like because of the time in my life it came out. I wasn't doing a lot of anything other than like studying and starting my career. And so I missed it, but then when I watched it, I wasn't like super into it. But now I definitely see the hype behind it. But I don't know, something about Cap has never grabbed me. I made the joke the other day that he was vanilla ice cream, and I think that's I mean he's a good guy and he punches stuff.
He totally is.
And he does those things really well, but so that's kind of where the line is for me.
He's the All Might of the.
Well,
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I think All Might has.
He's very much the
yeah.
symbol.
Wait, why do? For those that don't know, we're talking My Hero Academia is All Might, but why is he not the All Might? What do you think All Might has? What does All Might have that Cap doesn't have?
Oh gosh.
I don't know. Yeah,
I respect that.
I could see that similarity, but I see All Might with more history, just in like bad things happening to him. Also, All Might loses his powers.
I was gonna say, the weakness.
Spoiler alert!
And is
First
still
episode.
able to be a hero. So strip Cap of his powers, and we'll see. We'll see. I'm sure that happens or whatever. But
has it ever happened? Do we know?
I'm sure it has.
Reverse.
In some way, shape, or form.
I mean, he's been killed.
Every hero.
So if that is, technically that's having your powers taken away. If your power is life.
What about other characters getting the super soldier serum?
Well, there's Bucky, Winter Soldier.
So that is
okay.
That is a huge impetus for a lot of the villains, but also other heroes that are like secondary and tertiary to Captain America. Like one of my favorite villains is Nuke, who is this super soldier, finger quotes, with an American flag tattooed across his face, who received like this bad version of the super soldier serum, like this incomplete version, like believes that he is fighting in the Vietnam War and that like Captain America is the enemy. And just crazy unhinged stuff ensues, kind of used as like a pawn in a lot of bigger villains' plans throughout the comics. Just like a fun guy to see. But it's kind of like, oh, if we can replicate, Captain America's serum, then we'll create our own mega super villainous army and take over the world. So that has been a lot of people have taken that as their motive in the comics before.
I guess that was Falcon Winter Soldier, right?
Yeah, that was a big.
Yeah,
I'll say in the
series,
MCU,
right?
that's kind of been a big thing. Is like
in Civil
super
War.
solar
It was
serum's kinda out
the
there.
movie Civil War.
Yep.
Um,
And we'll see the new Captain America too. Who knows? I mean, we got a Hulk possibly in there too. Well, we know we definitely have a Hulk in the new Captain America movie, but whether or not
Mark
there's
dated
other
my day.
super soldiers. Red Hulk.
One of my favorite
Sure.
unexplored storylines in Civil War would have been those other Winter Soldiers there, the 5 that got in the movie that you see there. So good.
So, I mean, we do want to give some, I guess, reading recommendations, viewing recommendations. I mean, I think we could all say definitely go watch the MCU films. I think are definite, or just watch the MCU, Cap in the MCU. I mean, I would say is a good representation of that character. And like I said, it really is what kind of brought about my love for that character and made me go back to the books. I would definitely recommend, like I said, also reading that Winter Soldier arc leading into Civil War. It's fantastic. Do you have any other recommendations, Matt, that you would say?
So I started reading the book consistently in 2016, leading up to the Secret Empire event. And that is when the Captain America title was split into 2, and you had Captain America Steve Rogers and then Captain America Sam Wilson. And so they're both operating as Captain America. And I guess, well, it's been nearly 10 years, 8 years. The last page of Captain America issue number 1, is it number 1? Now I forget. Now I'm doubting myself.
I don't think it was. No, I don't think it was.
I don't think it was. No. I think it might have been like 5 or 6. He turns around and there's just this one full page and all he says is Hail Hydra. Oh, man, and so it's the start of this arc where it is revealed that this is not the Cap we once knew and loved, spinning out of the events of Avengers Standoff, which is an amazing event where the cosmic cube manifests itself as a little girl because it's damaged so much and it's personified and scared and they're trying to protect it. And the Captain America has begun to age now, and gosh, I could go into it. So anything from that timeline is so good. If you want some alternative takes on Captain America, I'm a personal fan of the Amalgam universe, which is a project that DC and Marvel teamed up on in the 90s and early 2000s, where they combined characters, and they combined Captain America with Superman, both of Ken's favorites.
Oh yeah.
And for the Amalgam project, what they did is a line of number 1s, and they did 2 waves of it, like a whole wave of number 1s here, and then a few years later they did a whole new slew of them. And so this character was called Super Soldier.
Oh, there you go.
If you Google him, Super Soldier Amalgam, Clark Kent is a super soldier, a government experiment from World War II who was frozen in the ice for 50 years. Then he became a member of the JLA.
So it was actually just one character with both abilities. It wasn't like a team up thing.
It was like a fusion. Yeah.
Okay.
Like Gogeta. Just exactly like Gogeta. And then
Gogeta or Super Soldier?
Gogeta. All day. And then another cool version of the character is the Soldier Supreme from the Infinity Warps event, which was, I believe, 2017, 2018. It's Gamora gets a hold of the Infinity Gauntlet and in a panic folds the universe in on itself, combining a bunch of characters. And so you have Iron Hammer, which is Stark Odinson, which is a sick character. A lot of these
really good. Yeah, I did read that whole.
A lot of these characters are playable in some of the mobile games like Future Fight. There's Soldier Supreme. There's Arachnite, which is Spider-Man and Moon Knight. Ghost Panther, Black Panther, Ghost Rider, and it's just this huge blazing like panther that he rides on. So sick. Madam Hell, Madam Mask, and Hela, and then Diamond Patch, which is Wolverine and Emma Frost. But yeah, like it's in Infinity Warps when Stephen Strange, see it works, was given the super soldier serum, quote, finger quotes, was actually a spell placed on him to increase his abilities and things like that. So some cool, fun alternative takes on America throughout comics there for you.
That sounds amazing. Warp, is it also called Warp World? Or that's just where
Infinity
it takes place
Warps.
Infinity Warps.
You could Warp World is there, yeah.
That sounds nuts. That's
the
crazy.
art is sick.
Yeah.
Nice. All right, well, there you go. That's our little Captain America lore fest. We'll be back with another lore dump here on the next episode. Have we decided who we want to do next? You guys want to keep it to the Avengers here? Do you want to maybe go like Tony, go Iron Man maybe next time? Kind of keep it up.
Sounds good.
All right. So, we'll be doing
and see what happens.
Iron Man on the next episode. So, message us. Send us some emails here. rivalsassemblepod@gmail.com or hit us up on Twitter, rivalsassemble. Let us know your favorite Tony Stark, your favorite Iron Man books, and we'll mention them here on the show. So, speaking of emails, let's get into our final segment, our What Ifs segment, where we get you involved here on the show. Now, unfortunately, because we didn't mention to you to email us, we don't have any this time. But this is generally where we will do that. So go ahead and email us, rivalsassemblepod@gmail.com. Let us know your questions, your topics. This is where we will get you involved. But since we don't have any emails, we are going to have a topic. And we decided to go with what map and location do we want to see added to the game? And what would you want to be either destructible on that map or some sort of unique thing about that map? So I'll go first. I think for me, I was thinking maybe the Savage Land for the X-Men.
Ooh,
and maybe within that have
sick.
Like pterodactyls that would fly through every once in a while that would, maybe if you were floating up in the air, either attack you, you may have to take them out, maybe have some sort of, rather than just destruction in the environment, have the environment actually attack the players as well.
Or just like a little stampede of velociraptors.
Yeah, just kind of running through. Maybe a volcano goes off and some lava comes through and kind of destroys kind of the one pathway. You have to go another way. Or maybe the map plays one of two ways. Like one path, you play one way, one part of the map gets destroyed, you got to go the other way, and then next time you play the map, something else happens that way. I think that'd be kind of cool if they're able to bring that in. So for me, it's a Savage Land. What about you guys?
You could also play into it because it's in the Arctic. What if there were like a like in Fortnite, how there's the storm and it gets smaller? What if there's an effect where it's like throughout the match, the map is getting smaller and outside the storm is like the Arctic, but inside is the actual Savage Land. You have to fight to stay inside it.
That'd be sweet. Be cool.
I had the idea for a Winter Soldier themed map, and I don't know, as we were talking about the Civil War, I might have even mentioned it, Captain America Civil War movie, like that underground facility that they use. I think that would be like a fun map to have, but you're like a tweak on a control tactic where you're having to change points maybe because you hear the Winter Soldier activation phrase going. And so you're constantly chasing across the map to try and stop the phrase from being completed. And if you don't, then it releases like this big Winter Soldier or something like that, where it just targets everybody. And so everyone is, teamed up in trying to stop this, but you're still trying to take out the other team as well.
That'd be sweet. See, I like that if they could add things like that where, the team is fighting, but then there's some sort of, obviously it's an objective game, but some sort of objective that then hurts the other team, or something like that. I like that idea where you'd have this super soldier, or even affects both teams, or it's not just like both teams are fighting each other, but also whatever gets spawned then attacks everybody. I think would be kind of neat.
What do you got? Thinking of Asteroid M. Okay,
Ooh,
you have this, and thinking of how that would work is Magneto could start like rebuilding it halfway through the map, so you get like the rooms changing and stuff like that and shifting around as the map goes on, or maybe it's like new control points here and all of your paths and stuff have changed from what you have, and you don't know what it's going to be, kind of thing, at the beginning of the game, what the next
That's cool.
That would be neat, yeah.
Or it's like crashing to Earth and it's like a timed map.
Ooh.
And you have to get so many kills or something before you crash, quote unquote.
Your team has to extract. Whichever team gets the most kills extracts off it, and then the other team is stuck on it, and you just see it just crash. Kenz, what do you got? You got a map? Oh, you're muted. Kenz, you're muted.
So sorry. I can't remember if I mentioned this on the last episode or not, but the symbiote planet, like the one what was that? I just saw it. Clintar. Yeah.
Clintar,
yeah.
Null.
It's like where Null is imprisoned, and so like they could do a lot of cool stuff with that. Just like if you could like hear voices and stuff, or just like the architecture and like organic things, moving around, would be a really cool place to play in.
Yeah,
dude, that's going to be a Halloween event, and everyone's going to get their venomized skin.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Give me more symbiote stuff.
It's going to happen.
Give them an ability too on that map. Everyone gets a new ability from a symbiote.
Crazy.
That'd be sick.
All right, guys. Well, let's wrap it up there. Again, make sure to email us, rivalsassemblepod@gmail.com. Hit us up on Twitter, rivalsassemble, or on TikTok, rivalsassemble. I will have those links in the show notes. You can find those there. We should be back hopefully next week at some point. I know Kenz and Matt, you guys got a trip to Dallas coming up, so the episode may not be hitting right away next week, but we'll see kind of how the news rolls out too as well. But I want to try to definitely, if we can, get at least 2, maybe 3 episodes before launch. And then, of course, after launch, we'll be coming to you guys. We will be also working on a Twitch and YouTube channel, so hopefully we'll start getting these video versions out for you guys. And then the Twitch channel, also just when the game launches, we'll start streaming some gameplay up there as well. So any final thoughts here? Anything you guys want to throw out before we wrap it up?
I'm excited. I think really like talking about and remembering. It's been a few months since we played, but it's all coming back now, and I'm excited to jump back in.
If you're not good at games, like I'm not good at games, just enjoy it and play Jeff the Shark and have fun with your friends.
Well, that's the beauty of this game, is like you could just play it and have fun, because they've tuned all these characters where you feel like the character. It's so great. Like that's where I think
derpy little shark.
Like you mentioned, like Concord, and that's where I think this game has that leg up on Concord. Like Concord, they just were like, hey, let's just make a hero shooter, but there was no attachment to any of those characters, and it just was so generic that it's like, what is this game doing that?
Well, to be fair, we didn't have time to get attached, but
well, I know, but you know what I mean? Where this is just like immediately you can have either people that are hardcore hero shooters that want to just jump into a fun game, or people that are hardcore Marvel players. It's free to play. So many people are going to jump into this just to say, wow, that skin is cool. Like kind of how people jump into Fortnite every once in a while just to do that. Like, look at these cool skins. I don't play Fortnite all the time, but it's cool as hell. I'm going to buy that skin. And like that's, look, and I'm not saying that, people just need to be, at the whim of NetEase because of all these skins are going to release for the game. But like, I just, to me, just seems like it's the perfect storm that's coming with this game. And I see it being successful. So, and I can't wait, Neil, I'm like you, I can't wait to play this game. Like, just get hands back on with it, man. It was so much fun to play. All right. Well, with that, everybody, we will catch you next time. Later.